What's cracking, guys? Bruce Matson here, your host show of Metro Scout Fantasy Football. As of right now, I'm currently in a startup mock draft. It's 1QB. It's with some of the DLF guys, and we're doing these mock drafts to formulate some ADP. However, I'm taking you guys a peek behind the curtain, letting you see what this mock draft's all about so you can see some of these startup draft values. On top of that, I went with a strategy in this draft. I started going wide receiver heavy just to see what it feels like. And mock drafts are time for you to play around, time for you to get a feel of how things are moving. Because if you consistently doing mock drafts, once you get into your leagues, you know what to do. We do this with redraft. Dynasty should be no different. We mess with our mock drafts. We mess with strategies. We try to figure out what's best, how the boards are lining up, and then we react off that. With that being said, let's take a look at the startup draft. Here is the current startup draft that I'm in. The draft is in progress, so we still got a few rounds to go, but we're deep enough where we can go over some analysis on this. In the comments, point out what players are being overdrafted, which players are being underdrafted, what you would do different for some of these teams. Just let us know in the comments. Toss us a few likes. Help us out on the algorithm. But here on the first pick, Jamar Chase off the board. High-end wide receiver prospect, young guy, one of the top wide receivers in the league between him and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson went at the 103. Jonathan Taylor 102. Pretty standard there. Najee Harris 104. DeAndre Swift 105. I'm messing around with my draft. I'm here doing a strategy. You see a lot of blue there for the receivers, and then I started going off course there. I went with T. Higgins. It was between him and A.J. Brown and Kyle Pitts. It was between those three. And I went with T. Higgins because I really wanted to see what this team felt like. I want to see what it looked like. And there's no money on the table. Some of you guys are going to be saying, yeah, that's the problem with mock drafts. However, T. Higgins, if you watched a number of these videos, I'm pretty high on him. I got a lot of stake in him. And I feel like once we look back on his career, we're going to be looking at him as a guy that we underrated as one of the top wide receivers in the game. A.J. Brown, if we were doing this draft a million times, A.J. Brown probably drafted more than T. Higgins in this situation. This is just how I felt that day. And this is how the draft started running for me. Next off the board was Kyle Pitts. I feel like Kyle Pitts, honestly, when I think about draft perspective and longevity and positional value, I think he should be up there around Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, pushing for Jefferson, Chase, and Taylor, honestly, because he's going to be a key component to the Falcons for a long time. Misclick there. I'm trying to scroll. And going to the right here, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, some older running backs who can still be productive. I think Christian McCaffrey is a hell of value this late in the first. In some drafts, you're seeing him fall in the second or so. A.J. Brown at 110 is a deal. Devontae Adams at 111, considering we don't know what his situation is going to be, his age and all that. That's a little dicey, but he's still one of the best wide receivers in the game. Alvin Kamara at 112. I think this pick happened before his incident, so we won't hold that against the pick. CeeDee Lamb falling into the second round. Big time fall considering he was being drafted around the DeAndre Swift area and the Najee Harris area of the drafts last year. Mid-first rounder. He's falling a little bit, but he's not tumbling either. Then we see a run on running backs with Eckler, Williams, and Barkley. Williams going into the second round is a surprise to me, really, because as I look at other people talk about him, I look at other mock drafts, he's generally going in the back half of the first, maybe a little sooner than that, sometimes ahead of Najee Harris. So he falling this far in the draft is a little bit of a surprise. Then we got Debo, Samuel, Cooper, Kupp. Big seasons this year. Kupp's a little bit older. Samuel's about 25 years old. I think Samuel's got some longevity with him. I think Kupp's a good match with Stafford. I think he's going to be there longer than what you think, being productive. Then I went with Tyrek Hill. I'm just got a veteran there, getting some upside, just getting that wide receiver, the peg width. It was between him and Waddle. That was the choice, and I figured I'd go with Hill and just go with the veteran there, and I'm going to chase younger players later, as you see what I did. But honestly, if I had to do it again today, I'd be drafting Waddle. I like Waddle better than Hill long term. I like Hill better than Waddle short term, but I just don't know how long that's going to last, and we're drafting a dynasty team. Waddle is a first rounder in my book. If I was drafting in the back half of the first here, where with this Devontae Adams area, Kamara area, A.J. Brown should be drafted earlier, I'd be looking at Waddle. So that's not a knock on him. I actually like him a lot. I like Metcalf too, but Waddle's a little younger. Treylon Burks at 210. This is where we start seeing top-tier rookies get drafted. So in the second round, that's no surprise there. Joe Mixon after that. You want to get as many Bengals as possible because this offense is going to be humming for some years. Josh Allen, first QB off the board. Stephon Diggs right after that. Patrick Mahomes in the third. Now we're just going to cut up around the board a little bit. If there's a player I don't talk about, a rookie or something, and you notice them, they're going too high, or you're interested in it, just say it in the comments, let everyone know about it. But Deonte Johnson in the third round, a lot of people have him pegged as a wide receiver one. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like a good bit of wide receivers have been drafted ahead of him. Cam Akers in the third round. That might be a value there if he starts getting the workload. Things start producing for him next year. Again, he's coming off that Achilles injury. But I do like him. I think that's a good value. He went off the board right before I picked. I went with DJ Moore, 24-year-old wide receiver. Feel like we got some years of him going forward. Feel like I'm going to have him for a long while. And to think what players I was looking at on that pick, if I try to remember. Yeah, looking back on it, I was sold on DJ Moore. And plus, I was going with the strategy of straight-up wide receivers. I was going into the draft like this. And since it's a mock draft, I want to play around with this. I want to see how the team feels when I draft this. That way I don't make mistakes when money's on the line. Going forward, we got Breece Hall coming off the board. I think the first rookie running back selected, unless Isaiah Spiller got selected. Nope, he got selected in the fourth. J.K. Dobbins right after him. So here's a good take. Who would you rather have right now in your dynasty roster? Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Isaiah Spiller. Which one of those three would you have? Who would you rather have? Because that's something. David Montgomery went ahead of Isaiah Spiller as well when we're looking at these running backs. George Kittle and Travis Kelce went back-to-back. Elijah Moore in the fourth round. I feel like that's a good value for him. I feel like he should be pushing for the third. But again, we got the rookies mixed in on this. So Elijah Moore is good depth. So if you want running back, and you wanted a wide receiver that's younger, Elijah Moore's a guy to shoot for. Good pick. And Devonta Smith too. Here I went with the rookie, Drake London. One of the last or few first-round rookies left on the board. I went with him. I wanted to go wide receiver, keep a wide receiver heavy, build around wide receivers on this team, and also wanted to build around youth. And we'll figure out the rest later. That's what we did. Kenneth Walker after that. If I was playing straight up, not doing a strategy, it might have been Kenneth Walker over London. However, most times when I'm ranking and doing mocks, I'm going London over Walker, so it's probably going to be London over him, so scratch that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire going in the fourth round. How has the mighty have fallen? He was like a 101, 105 type range here about a year and a half ago. Fourth round pick. Are you buying there? Are you buying him there? You want him later? Are you not buying at all? Is he dicey to you? He's kind of dicey right now. He's very dicey right now, but he could turn things around like that considering who he's playing with. Terry McLaurin in the fourth, Nick Chubb in the fourth, Michael Pittman in the fifth. Good price tag for a young rookie wide receiver. Younger wide receiver, not a rookie, his second year. Me just saying dumb things. Garrett Wilson went in the fourth. Fourth round, first round pick going off in the fourth round. The thing about sleeper is the rookies and stuff. No. Garrett Wilson got drafted before London, so I didn't mess that up. I would have drafted Garrett Wilson before Drake London on the real, for real on that, because Garrett Wilson's like my 101, 102 range in rookie drafts. So the thing about Sleeper, though, right now is the player pool is kind of mixed in. So sometimes you got to search, especially for the rookies and especially for some of the younger guys, because also redraft oriented, some of these players you might have to search for. So you may see a player like Elijah Mitchell here in the 5th round. If he was in the group of players where he's supposed to be usually valued, I imagine he would have been drafted around the 2-3 area, considering where he's been valued since he had a good rookie season, 4 at the latest. So he would at least been drafted around earlier. Other things that stick out to me, I drafted Jameson Williams, another first-round wide receiver. I don't see him falling out of the first round this year's draft. Really want to attack youth. I like him better than Brandon Ayuk. And I really want to chase that upside, especially with this team. I was shooting for youth anyways. Again, none of these guys are young. Good to see Calvin Ridley go in the 5th. There's a lot of ambiguity with the situation, as we all know. Are you willing to draft them there? Are you willing to pull the trigger on him in the 5th or earlier? Or are you fading him just because you don't know who he's going to be playing with? Darren Waller in the 6th. I've been watching him fall in the draft. I thought about pulling the trigger on him considering he was a tight end with some production, but I just wanted to keep with the system I was rolling with. Chris Olave in the 6th. I feel like that's a good value for a rookie wide receiver who's had some production. Marquise Brown in the 6th is a good value as well, along with Jerry Jeudy, 2 former first-round wide receivers who's shown some production. And then I selected Michael Carter there. Young running back, got touches, usage in the passing game, 6th round. I'm going to go with that all day, and I want young running backs. I don't want guys who are veterans that in a year or 2 from now, I'm wondering what's going to happen with them if I can get value for them on the market because I see the end is near. Off of this, going forward in this round, TJ Hawkinson went off the board. Joe Burrow went in the 6th. This is 1 QB, so a little early for my blood on quarterbacks. As you can see, I don't even have one drafted yet. So, of course, I'm going late round quarterback. Probably stack a 3-pack of quarterbacks or something later. Zeke fell to the 6th round. That is a major drop considering where he was at 2 years from now. I imagine this is only going to go further down boards. Zeke's plummeting. Even if he has a decent season next year, he's just going to hover around this area, if not drop. He's a falling knife right now in Dynasty. No one's going to want to touch him. Jahan Dotson in the 7th, along with Pat Freiermuth, his former teammate. And what else do we notice here? David Bell, one of my favorite players right here in the 7th round. I took Kyron Williams here. Really wanted to go running back heavy. And then I was expecting some of these wide receivers, Pickens, Bell, Mooney. I was expecting them to fall to me. I was playing chicken. Amon-Ra St. Brown falling to the 7th. Again, this is another one of those players in the player pool that was stacked down a bit. I imagine if his name was up there a little higher, you're going to see him get selected a little higher. You're going to see that with some of these picks. That's the thing. And a lot of times you're in a mock draft, you're just trying to get your pick in so you can keep it moving. So that's going to happen on some of these players. So that's one thing about mock drafting in February. Sometimes the player pool is a little wonky. So you really, if you're in a real draft and the player pool is kind of jacked up, study that pretty hard because you're going to find values. So that's just how the game is in February right now. That everything's just adjusting. Let's see here. I doubled up at tight end in the 8th and 9th round. And the reason why is I felt like it was pretty good value. And I feel like Noah Fant, long-term is good. Athletic tight end. Could be getting a good quarterback in the future. Dallas Goddard's been looking really good in Philly. Really in the 8th round, I was pegging between the 2 of those players. I did not know which one to get. I went with Goddard. Fant fell back to me, and I just pulled the trigger on him. But here, going forward, we got Cortland Sutton, Miles Sanders, Gabe Davis at 8-2. Dude's been getting a lot of buzz this offseason. I imagine if he was a little bit higher in the player pool, he would have got drafted a little higher considering how much buzz he's getting. We're getting Allen Robinson in the 8th round these days. So if he comes back doing Allen Robinson things, That's a good value. Along with Odell Beckham in the 9th round. Considering he's been doing good this year, that could be a good value. Brandon Cooks in the 9th round as well. Cooks is getting older. I get it. These are older wide receivers, but these older wide receivers are producing in the back half of these drafts are always good to get. That's what kind of makes this strategy here a little wonky. If you want to put bullet holes in what I was doing there, going youth and then going after running back, I would not say this is a late round running back strategy. I've done drafts where I went wide receiver all the way to maybe the 10th round. I've done that before in actual leagues, not just mocks. And but I wouldn't call this late round running back or anything. I'm definitely doing late round quarterback. That's just a given with me for the value. You see me going Tony Pollard at 10. Rashad White going at 10:08. Another one of my targets for that pick, especially at this part of the draft. A lot of ambiguity with him because we don't know where he's going to be selected at. He could be a late round pick. He could be getting bumped in value. We'll see what happens with him at the combine. So a lot of interesting takes here. Devin Singletary going in the 10th round had a fantastic end to this season. So maybe we see him jump up in drafts. Juju Smith-Schuster, I want to go back to him at round 8. There's a lot of speculation with him because who knows who he's going to be playing with. Maybe he comes back, starts producing again. Let me know if you're willing to pay that price tag for him or you're letting him fade. I look at him. I think about him in every draft. I tell you that much, but it's rare that I select him. But there's a chance that I may pull the trigger on him here and there, but really not over the moon for him, if that makes sense. Rondale Moore looks like at 11. That's a good price tag. That makes him a cheap buy. Trey Sermon in the 12th round. Rashad Penny in the 11th. I feel like if his name was up a little higher, he probably would have got selected a little earlier. I went with Laviska Shenault. New coaching staff. 11th round price tag considering where he was at last year. I liked him going into last year. I'm going to dance with that. These players that fall on their face earlier in their career, if the price tag starts getting dirt cheap, I'm just going to try again. I'm just going to keep it up. And I can get more veterans here in the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th round. We'll figure it out. After that, I drafted Terrace Marshall. Same thing. Same thing. I'm just trying to shoot for upside. Just shooting for upside. Van Jefferson went off the board at round 12. That's a good value there. I feel like he needs to be in consideration in a lot of these picks because he is not going to have much competition for targets here in the future because, well, he's going to have it. He's going to have that competition, but they don't have draft picks. They're not going to be bringing in dudes left and right, and that's going to give him a lot of flexibility, especially the further we get into his career. Russell Wilson in round 12. That's a good value there. Christian Kirk going to be in free agency this year. We could see his stock rise. Now, Algier, one of my favorite rookie running backs. I feel like you're going to see him surpass Madison, surpass Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Carson area, maybe even Tony Pollard. I probably should have drafted him over Tony Pollard. There's a good chance he could be a 3-down back. There's a lot of ambiguity, though, due to the draft. We all get that. Melvin Gordon at 12. That's kind of like, it's not bad. It's 12th round, but he's still also a falling knife because, there's not many years left in his game. But that's about it for this draft. Let me know what you think. Let me know who is being overdrafted, who's being underdrafted. What strategies are you messing around with? Going early wide receivers, what I've been doing here. My thoughts on what I'm doing, I'm all right with it. I can win with this team. I can really pull some strings and do well. I'm also could see how this team could bust. One of these two rookies here fall off. I'm not good. T. Higgins regresses or something. Tyrek Hill, if he falls off and age starts hitting him, then that's not good. If DJ Moore keeps being average, then that's not good. Laviska Shenault and Terrace Marshall, a lot ambiguous there. A lot of iffiness. Tony Pollard may never be an RB1, but Zeke here, if everyone's low on Zeke and thinking he's going to fall off any time, then we got to bump up Tony Pollard a little bit. There's a chance he could be an RB1 for a stint at Dallas. I look for them to start bringing in other running backs here in the next couple of years, especially with this 2023 draft class. But all in all, when I look at my strategy, it's okay. It's okay. I can build around it. I look at this and I wish I went A.J. Brown over T. Higgins, but I'm cool with having him there as well. I feel like Kyle Pitts might have been the better play. Kyle Pitts, get rid of these 2 tight ends. That would have felt really good. But all in all, A.J. Brown should have been over T. Higgins for sure. And I feel like Waddle over Hill, I would feel a lot better. Imagine A.J. Brown, Waddle, Moore, London, Williams. I would feel a lot much better with that. But that's why we do these mock drafts. That's why we play around when there's no money on the table. That way, when there is money on the table, we do better for ourselves because we've got the mistakes out. And always analyze what you're doing. How could you do better? How do you feel? Look at the board. What could you do differently and all that stuff. Always analyze what you're doing. And just because you're following a certain strategy or you're doing something a certain way doesn't mean you're wrong either, or you're going to be wrong, or you're going to be right. So always keep your mind open and paint with a broad stroke. But that's all I got for you today. Just really going over this mock draft with you real quick. But I want to thank you for watching the show, sticking with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Every subscription matters, fuels me to keep going over this content, going over these drafts with you, and everything else. Again, I want to thank you, and I'll catch you next time.